Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's MISys Tips and Tricks video. This week, we want to talk about bulk issue items. What are bulk issue items? These are items that we have in our manufacturing process that we don't necessarily want to go pick 1, 2, 5, 10 at a time per manufacturing order. Good examples might be nitrile gloves, washers, nuts and bolts. Usually they are quite low on unit cost. They're marked obviously as bulk issue on item type in our item master file. And what we tend to do in our manufacturing operations is have a box of these nitrile gloves or a bucket of these washers just released to the floor, issued to the floor. And whoever has this item as a requirement on their manufacturing order or part of their process, they just go and grab whatever they need, more or less, from that bucket, from the floor issue, as we call it. So here are the things that we need to make sure that are in place to assure that we are running this properly. First thing is obviously we need to make sure that the bulk item is part of our bill of material if we want the cost of these bulk items associated with each manufacturing order. Now realize that each manufacturing order will have a quantity assignment of this bulk item. In our case, we're looking at I01. And in this, it says you need 5.5 feet of this I01 to build one of this I45 item. It's not going to be exact. When it says 5 washers or 1 pair of nitrile gloves, you might end up tearing that nitrile glove and grabbing another one. Or maybe you need 3 washers, but you grab it a fistful of 5 or 10 or whatever. So they're not going to be exact in terms of physical usage. But we want to enter some quantity requirement on our material tab on the bill of material so it at least reflects an average usage quantity. So once we have that, the next step is we also want to make sure that we can differentiate between what is in the stock room, untouched, unopened boxes or buckets of these bulk issue items, and what we have issued to the floor. So to do that, we go into our stock control, we go to item transfers, allocate the allocate stock, select our bulk issue item, select the location, identify a quantity that we want to issue to the floor. And usually this will be a quantity measured in, not usually, this is always a quantity measured in stock unit of measure, but usually the amount is determined by uh, the box. For example, if there is 50 gloves in a box, or in this case, 1,000 feet of this wire in a spool, then I want to issue the whole spool to the floor. And when I hit allocate, it will actually allocate the 1,000 feet of this to the floor. And when I look at my item and when I look at my stock level of that item, I'll see that 3,550 is in stock and 1,000 is on the floor, is in WIP. It's now being moved to WIP. So this way I am able to see my actual stock levels and have created sort of a Kanban system where I am pulling into WIP from stock. And every time this is depleted completely, I pull it into WIP again from stock. How do I deplete this? It is through my manufacturing orders. So there is a bulk issue demo manufacturing order we created for that SL45, or sorry, I45 item. Again, it has the material I01 in its requirements for material. The first step we are doing is we are starting our manufacturing order, which actually takes all of our items except the bulk issue, as you will see, and moves it into WIP. Currently, there is nothing in WIP, but once we start our manufacturing order and enter our quantity here, 50, a stock to WIP transfer is done. And when we look at our history tab to see the details of this transaction, you will see that a stock to WIP transaction took place for all the items in my bill of material that was copied over to my manufacturing order, with the exception of the bulk item. I01 is not in that list because you don't actually take the I01 from the stock room with a pick list in a specific quantity. It's just sitting on the floor. So because it's not picked, then it is not used in the start function. So we close out of this and we move on to the next step of our manufacturing order processing, which is to complete our manufacturing order. When we complete our manufacturing order and go and look at our history again, you'll now see assembled from WIP. When we look at the details of that, now we do see our I01 decrement WIP 275, which is the required quantity. So where did this item get pulled from? Well, it got pulled from the quantity that we had issued to the floor. So if we look at our item stock levels again for I01, you'll notice that our stock has not changed. It's still 3,550, but now our WIP quantity has changed because whatever quantity was issued to the floor, this manufacturing order took it from there. Now, like I said, the manufacturing order might call for a specific quantity, but our production staff might use a little bit more than that. So when that floor quantity is finished, we can either at that moment true up that inventory by dispensing the remaining quantity in WIP when we go to bring the other bucket from the stock room, or we just bring the other bucket from the stock room by issuing again into it. And in our cycle count, we actually count what is on the floor, either by weighing or whatever the way of measurement is, and true up our inventory that way. This way, we have created a Kanban system. We're able to know where our stock is, whether it's on the floor or in the stock room. We're able to assign a large portion of the item's cost to a specific manufacturing order, and we have good control of the material flow. So I hope that this helps you run manufacturing system MISys more effectively.